What kind of army defeats a fortified city by walking in circles and shouting? Sounds ridiculous, right? But it happened. And not just any army pulled it off. It was the Israelites, led by Joshua, following what seemed like the strangest instructions from God. Welcome to a moment in history that flips everything you know about battle on its head. This isn't just about bricks crashing down. It's about bold faith, a wild plan, and a powerful victory that had nothing to do with swords or strength. This is story of grace. And if you're into stories that break the rules and leave you inspired, hit that subscribe button now. The promise to Joshua. Ever been handed something way too big to handle? That's exactly what happened to Joshua. After Moses died, the weight of leading the Israelites fell on his shoulders. And let's be real, it was a heavy weight. Leading a tired, wandering people into a land full of enemies is not a light task. But this wasn't about Joshua's ability. It was about God's presence. God told him straight up, "I will be with you. I will never leave you. Be strong. Be brave." That promise wasn't just comforting. It was everything. Imagine knowing that every step you take, the creator of the universe is right there with you. That changes how you walk. That changes how you lead. And it's what gave Joshua the confidence to face what was ahead. Jericho wasn't just another city. It was the first real obstacle in the promised land. A city known for its huge walls and tight security. A place where no one thought victory was possible. But God had already decided the outcome. The city was theirs. It just didn't look like it yet. So when Joshua received the plan, he didn't argue. He didn't question. He trusted. And that trust became the foundation for one of the most unexpected wins in history. The city of Jericho. What makes a city truly untouchable? For Jericho, it was the walls. Massive, thick, and intimidating. They were built for one purpose, to keep invaders out, and they did their job well. For years, the people of Jericho felt safe behind them. Protected, confident, maybe even cocky. But fear had crept in. They had heard about the Israelites. They knew the stories, the Red Sea, the manna, the miracles, and that fear made them shut their gates tighter than ever. No one in, no one out. Still, Jericho's defenses weren't just physical. They had an emotional edge, too. Imagine facing a wall that big. Imagine knowing your enemy is locked in, watching you, daring you to try. It's enough to make most people give up before they even start. But the Israelites didn't need battering rams or siege towers. They had something stronger. They had a promise. And they had a plan that made no sense to anyone, except to the one who gave it. God's strange plan. Would you follow a plan that made you look foolish? Because that's what God asked the Israelites to do. No fighting, no shouting, no attacking, just walking around the city, once a day, for 6 days. Imagine being a soldier, sword in hand, ready for action, and all you do is walk in silence. That's not strategy. That's surrender. And that's the point. Obedience isn't always flashy. It's not always loud. Sometimes it looks boring, weak, even silly. But it's in those moments, when we trust God's word over our own instincts, that power shows up. Each step around Jericho was a step of faith. Every lap was a declaration. We trust you, God. Even when it looks ridiculous. Even when nothing changes. We're still walking. And let's not skip the details. The priests were out front, blowing trumpets. The Ark of the Covenant followed. This wasn't a casual stroll. It was worship in motion. It was faith on display. And the people of Jericho? They watched from behind their walls, probably laughing at first, then getting nervous, then downright terrified. The 7th day. Something always shifts when you stay faithful. Day 7 came, and things got intense. Instead of one lap, the Israelites marched 7 times around Jericho. The tension must have been thick. You could feel it in the air. After 6 days of silence and routine, this was different. This was bigger. 7 laps. Then the horns blasted, and Joshua gave the order. Shout! And they did, with everything in them. This wasn't just noise, it was release. It was faith exploding through voices. And then the walls fell. Just like that. Crumbled to the ground. Total collapse. The city was wide open. It didn't make sense. It wasn't supposed to work. But it did. Because God said it would. And when he speaks, creation responds. Stones crack. Walls tumble. Fear flees. What had seemed impossible just seconds earlier was now a path to victory. Why Jericho fell. If you think Jericho fell because of a secret weapon, you're missing it. It fell because God said it would, but only after his people obeyed. That's the real key here. The fall wasn't about power. It was about posture. The Israelites didn't fight their way in. They worshipped their way in. They won by walking, by listening, by trusting. That's not weakness. That's real strength. When we face impossible walls, addiction, fear, broken relationships, shame, we often think we need to fight harder. But sometimes we just need to walk in obedience. Sometimes we just need to show up every day, do what God says, and let him do the heavy lifting. Faith isn't proven when things are easy. It shows up when everything looks stuck, and we keep walking anyway. Rahab's story. Can one person's choice really change everything? Ask Rahab. She was part of Jericho, lived on the wall, a woman with a past, someone most would overlook. But she had something others didn't: faith. When the Israelite spies came to the city, she hid them, risked everything. Because she believed their God was real. She didn't need to see the Red Sea. She didn't need manna. She just heard and believed. Rahab asked for mercy, and she got it. Her house, marked by a scarlet cord, stood untouched when the rest of the wall fell. God honored her faith. He protected her family, and he brought her into the story, not just as a survivor, but as part of Jesus' family tree. That's what faith can do. It redeems, it restores, it rewrites legacies. Rahab's name, once whispered in shame, is now shouted in grace. What we can learn. Why does this story still hit so hard? Because we all have walls. We all face things that seem too big, too strong, too stuck. And we all hear plans from God that feel confusing. But the story of Jericho tells us something powerful. Faith works. Obedience matters. And God moves when we move in trust. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to keep walking, keep trusting, keep showing up. Sometimes the miracle isn't in what you do. It's in what happens because you obey. And if God can use marching and shouting to bring down walls, imagine what he can do with your small steps of faith. Why it still matters today. What does an ancient city with crumbling walls have to do with modern life? Everything. Jericho is more than a place. It's a picture of how God works in our lives today. He gives promises, he asks for trust, and then he shows up in ways we never expected. Your Jericho might look like a job that won't open, a relationship that's broken, a prayer that feels unanswered, but the strategy hasn't changed. Walk, listen, trust, obey, and then watch what happens. Walls don't stand a chance against faith. Not then, not now. So don't stop walking. Don't stop trusting. Your seventh day is coming, and when it does, everything can change in a moment. Thanks for sticking with us through this powerful story from Story of Grace. If this gave you something to hold on to, if it reminded you to keep trusting when the walls look tall, go ahead and hit that like button. And don't forget to subscribe to Story of Grace so you never miss another story that builds your faith and lifts your spirit. We've got more coming your way, and we'd love to have you walking with us every step of the journey.